Are you worried that your teen and young adult children don't have a lot of friends? Well, I don't think that you need to, because a lot of kids actually prefer it that way. And today in this video, I'm going to chat about why it's important to let your kids navigate this territory of friendships, and why it's important to focus more on the quality of friends and not necessarily the quantity of friends. If you're new here, hi, I'm Lori, and this is Ever After 50. I'm a midlife mom, wife, full-time worker, small business owner, and a pet owner. And I'm just navigating life here in my 50s with two young adults still living in the home. I love, doing home decor, travel, home cooking, and mostly I love sharing my advice because I have a lot to talk about. So if any of that resonates with you, I'm happy that you're here and I hope that you'll subscribe. Thank you for watching. I recently did a video about myself at 54 not having a lot of friends, and I'll tag it up here, and why I prefer it that way. But I had a conversation with my daughter just a couple days ago, and it really got me thinking about kids that are, late teens and early adult age. She's 20 and she's in third year university. And during the conversation, we got chatting about one of her other friends. And she had said that her friend who lives out of town is also in third year university. They asked her how she likes living in that city. And the response was that she likes living in the city, but she doesn't really have any friends. And I got thinking about that because it's kind of similar for my daughter. Now, another video that I've also recently shared that seems to have gone viral because there's a lot of touchy topics in that video, and that is that basically, you are not friends with your kids' friends or their parents, and that you should stay away from the parents. I'll tag that here as well. So before all the haters come into the comments and start blaming me that, I'm the problem and this is why, kids don't have friends and la-di-da, listen to the full video, at least listen to what I have to say. So back to the story about my daughter and her friend. So my daughter is very similar. She trusts wholeheartedly. And when she has a friendship, she is loyal right to the bitter end with people. And I'm finding that more and more kids are not raised with trust, respect, loyalty, manners, or values. And I'm not saying that my kids are perfect at all, but, I will say they've had a very comfortable upbringing, and I wanted to make sure that they weren't, raised and didn't grow up to be spoiled, entitled brats, basically. So we instilled very young, strong family values, manners, respect, trust, loyalty in our kids. But I just don't see that in a lot of kids that are out there nowadays. And I wonder, myself, what is the problem? Like, other than the parenting, and again, everyone has different capabilities. Everyone has different gifts when it comes to parenting. Not everyone's perfect, and I am not saying at all that I'm perfect. I am not. I have a lot of flaws that I at least acknowledge. But I at least try my hardest. So, I'm not here to judge any parents whatsoever, because everyone is just trying to do their best. But something has happened somewhere down the line that has affected these kids and their ability to have relationships and strong friendships. I also have a 17-year-old son, and he's pretty much the same. He has a lot of friends from school, but he has a very small circle of trusted friends. And I think boys are much different than girls in the sense that, they don't overanalyze things. Nothing is that serious. They don't speak for months and then they see each other on the street and they're chums. And I think the boys, they'll have long lasting lifetime friendships. Girls, completely different. At least that's my experience. If you've had something different, let me know in the comments, but be kind always. But yeah, so boys completely different, but in how they handle friendships. But again, my son's very similar. He has a very small circle of friends, and I'm not sure what it is. And honestly, I think it has something to do with social media, honestly. I feel like a lot of kids, they do not know how to have relationships. They are so bent on immediate gratification that they don't want to put the time and effort into cultivating friendships. And the other thing too is that, with social media, there's so much comparison, there's so much jealousy, there's so much influence on there that's not good. And I really think that has hurt kids so much in the last, what are we looking at here, 10, 20 years, since social media has become crazy out there. I think there's so many factors that are affecting, kids and their ability to have long-lasting friendships and relationships with anyone, adults, peers, work, all of that, school. Honestly, I think social media is the culprit, basically, in a lot of instances. As a parent, that's all you want for your kids. You want them to have opportunities, you want them to have fun, and you want them to have friends. And I think that we need to take that pressure off of our kids, because what we want isn't necessarily what they want. And in speaking to my daughter, I always encourage her to get out and, try to connect with friends, make new friends, at least be open-minded. Her response is always that it takes so much work to cultivate friendships, which of course, yes, it does, but also that people don't reciprocate. And I think that I said to her, what is it? And she said, people just don't want to try. And I think, again, that's so true. It's a lot of work for kids. And because they're so used to just this immediate gratification, instant, everything's instant, and maybe they were raised that way as well, that you want something, here you go, you have it, you don't have to work for it, that has really affected their abilities to have relationships. And for her, she's always focused on the quality of the friend. She never cared about having a ton of friends. And, I will say too, if I'll tag my video again here that I shared about not being friends with your kids' friends and their parents. I did a lot for my kids when they were little, and the parents all hated me for it. And I did that because I wanted their childhood to be different than mine. My mother was zero effort, never involved, never around. And I wanted things to be different for my kids. So I feel like I created the childhood that I wanted for myself, but also it wasn't just for me. I did these things for them because I wanted their childhood to be happy and fun and magical. But at the same time, while I was doing that, I always did fun themed parties. I invited all of the kids because I didn't want people to be left out and feel hurt, because I experienced that myself. And I don't know if maybe that contributes to why she doesn't want a lot of friends, because there's a lot of drama when there's more kids involved. And that is also something that she's experienced now at this age in university. And it's not that, as she just said, that emotionally and mentally, it is very draining to be involved in a large group of girls, because there's always this nattering back and forth, and, you can't always trust. You got to be careful what you say. So when she started university this year, she had a large group of friends, and she actually came to me and said, I need to take a step back because this is affecting my mental health. And honestly, I was so proud of her, because she is able to recognize when she's not in a good environment. And I think I did something right, despite all of the, what people might say, by me doing too much. I did something right, that she can at least recognize this is not good for me. It's not healthy. I need to take a step back. So her saying that was me realizing that, I need to lay off. I don't need to worry so much about her having so many friends, because she's happier with less friends. So, and I think it's just society also has, made us to believe that, if you don't have a lot of friends, you're a loser. You have, if you don't have people to go out with, you don't have this big brood of people. But honestly, it's not the case. It's whatever is, brings you happiness, and whatever keeps your peace. And that's the most important thing too for these kids nowadays. There is so much chaos and so much nonsense out there. They need to keep their peace. And again, I was so proud of her when she came and said, I need to take a step back. So that's what she's done. She is still friends with that group of girls, but she picks and chooses when she wants to do things with them. And she's told them, so that's the thing. You don't have to beat around the bush and hide and go and, behind closed doors. Just be honest with people. So she just went to them and said, look, I'm overwhelmed with school, and I have 2 jobs, and I volunteer. Plus, all of you, that I really need to take a step back and, focus on some other things, and that it's too much, to be involved in so many things. So, and again, I've also explained to my kids, you never, when you have a conversation with someone, say you or place the blame. You just want people to understand how you're feeling. It's not about who's to blame. So I was very proud of her, and it just reminded me that they don't need a lot of friends. Some kids just are happy either being on their own because they're introverts, or just having a very small circle of people in their life. And that's okay. Back to us as parents, being hypersensitive, I guess, to the fact that maybe our kids don't have a lot of friends. We enroll them and register them in all of these extracurricular activities. We, drive them all over the place, in their junior years to have them have these opportunities in hopes that they're going to make friends and have these long-lasting friendships. We put them in, we send them to post-secondary, and they're in university. You're paying all this money thinking, okay, you're hoping that when they go, they're going to branch off and make new friends, but it just doesn't always happen that way. And that's okay. And, the more I press my kids about getting out and going and doing things and meeting new people, it's like they digress because that's not their personality. And I have to realize that, which I do now. I always kind of have known their personality, but I've always just tried to encourage them and push them a little bit to get out there, put themselves out there, give people the benefit of the doubt and try. But my kids have always been very quiet, somewhat shy, quiet. They're very respectable. I always kind of refer to them as old souls because they just were not like a lot of the kids that we knew. And, you have to understand your kids' personalities. You cannot change them. Whatever their personality is, that's not going to change. And, for me, I was always, believe it or not, very shy as well. And I really didn't come out of my shell until I was probably in my 40s. I was very shy, very insecure. I never wanted to speak in front of people. I always thought everybody was talking or looking or whatever. So it was maybe like 35, 40. I really started to, come out of my shell, be more outgoing, speak in front of people. And I think too, the thing is I stopped caring about what everybody thought. So back to the kids, my advice for parents is know your kids' personalities. Don't put pressure on them to get out there and make friends if they don't want to. If they want to have a small circle of friends, that's totally okay. It's perfectly fine to have a small number of kids, friends, that they can trust and be loyal to. And, a lot of the kids, I understand why they don't want to put the work in because maybe they've been hurt in the past. Maybe they've been bullied. They're apprehensive. But, encourage your kids to try, but really know their personality. And it is okay if they don't have a lot of friends, and always just kind of keep an eye on their mental health, like check in with them, ask questions, make observations, just be in tune with, their movements, their actions, how they talk. And obviously, if there's something to be alarmed about, take action, but just let them figure things out on their own. If they don't want to have a lot of friends, that's totally fine. And they'll be okay, I think is the main thing. The kids will be okay in most cases. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you've made it right to the very end. And if you did, I really appreciate you. I've had a few of my videos kind of take off, and I'm here to share all of my, so-called wisdom, my experiences, and I hope that I don't let you all down with what I share. There's been a few haters in the comments, but I have very thick skin. I've learned over the years that I just, it's not that important to me, and what people's opinions are not that important to me. So anyways, if any of this video resonates, please join the conversation in the comments. I am loving all of the feedback I'm getting on the videos, and I appreciate it so much. And I am responding to every single comment. And I love so much when people leave heartfelt comments that, sharing their story, that means so much to me. And I hope that I will have lots more to share with you because I do have a lot to say. It's not always good, some of my experiences, but I think that's why we're all here. We're all looking for answers. We're looking for solutions. We don't want to feel alone in some of the experiences that we've had. And I think that's why some of my videos are taking off, because we've all experienced things that maybe we haven't talked about. And it's so nice to see that other people have experienced the same thing. It kind of validates our feelings, and it does make you feel better to know you're not alone. You're not the only one. So always Please join the conversation in the comments. I love that you're all here. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye for now.